The United Nations General Assembly held an emergency special session on Thursday on the Israel-Palestine crisis, and the session will continue on Friday. It is expected to vote on Friday on a Jordanian-backed draft resolution on the crisis. UN General Assembly President called for, quote-unquote, an immediate and unconditional humanitarian ceasefire and the opening of 8 corridors to save lives. Representatives from Palestine, Israel, each made powerful speeches consecutively, while Jordan, speaking on behalf of the Arab group, said it will table a resolution to, quote-unquote, make a stand for peace. The meeting came amid continuing deadlock at the UN Security Council over the conflict, which is raging into its 3rd week, and the human cost has been staggering. According to UN numbers, the Gaza Strip has borne witness to a devastating toll on its children, with a reported 2,360 fatalities and a reported 5,364 injuries due to unrelenting attacks, and more than 400 children are reportedly either killed or injured daily. Additionally, more than 30 Israeli children have reportedly lost their lives, and dozens remain in captivity within the Gaza Strip. Why has it been so difficult to reach an international consensus how to break the unending spiral of hate and violence? I'm pleased to be joined in Beijing by Victor Gao, Chair Professor at Soochow University, and Professor Rick Dunham, Co-Director of the Global Business Journalism Program at Tsinghua University. Gentlemen, welcome to The Point. I want to go through the main points or the main messages that were orated at the UN General Assembly with you, gentlemen. And first, we start, according to the General Assembly speaking orders, with the Palestine representative. Let's take a listen to this first.
7,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israel in the last almost 3 weeks. 70% of all those killed are women and children. Almost all killed are civilians. Is this the war some of you are defending?
So let me go to Victor there. The message is very grave, of course. But Victor, why do you think such an emergency session was needed and that Palestine was given the first opportunity to speak?
Thank you very much for having me. I think the unprecedented human tragedy is unfolding, involving the fate of the Palestinian people at the hands of the Israeli forces. Now, since the United Nations Security Council is deadlocked right now without any ability of adopting a resolution one way or another, it's left to the United Nations General Assembly to do the right thing, at least symbolically, to set the record straight. I would not be surprised if eventually 3/4 of the members of the United Nations, that's roughly about 150 nations, will join in this resolution calling for immediate ceasefire. That means the people, mankind in the whole world, will be faced with this very important moment of urging to do the right thing, that is to cease the fire against the civilians. Now, we all want to condemn terrorism of any color and shape, of course, and we all want to make sure that the legitimate rights of the Israelis, the Jewish people, will be fully protected. However, to protect the legitimate rights of the Israelis, the Jewish people, does not constitute a blank check to violate the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. And I think mankind as a whole will be able to tell the right from the wrong, and will urge the Israelis to do the right thing, that is, to protect the innocent people, especially women and children, in Gaza, rather than bombing them to ashes.
Let's take a listen to what the Israeli representative had to say at the General Assembly debate, right here.
Our goal is to completely eradicate Hamas's capabilities, and we will use every means at our disposal to accomplish this. Not for revenge, no. Not for retaliation, no. But to ensure that such depravity, such atrocities never occurs again.
So, Professor Dunham, let me go to you. What is your take on the Israeli response and their perspective that this is not about revenge, this is to prevent atrocities from happening ever again?
Well, I think that President Biden of the United States warned Israel that revenge would be a terrible motive right now. And the United States did some of that after the attacks of 9/11 and made some serious mistakes. But I think there are three things that must happen for us to get any kind of long-term stability in the Middle East. One is, as the Israeli representative said, the eradication of the terrorist group Hamas, so that they do not have any power at all for future attacks or for trying to control Gaza. The second is there has to be a Palestinian state where Palestinians live in freedom and free from fear. The third is that all Arabs and Muslims must agree forever that Israel has a right to exist in that land that was once called Palestine under the British mandate. And the problem is all of those things. And I do not see how we get to eradicating Hamas without tens of thousands of innocent civilians being killed. And that's what, if there's anything that we need to do, that's what we need to work on. The first thing we can do is have a pause in the killing to try to bring aid to innocent civilians in Gaza. I think that's something that everyone should be able to agree with. I don't know why it hasn't happened.
Yeah, exactly, Rick. Do you have an answer, a possible answer as to why it hasn't happened, that the agreement to stop the violence temporarily or let the civilians have shelter or evacuate if you want to eradicate terrorists?
Well, let me try to explain it. This is, and not endorsing it. My explanation is what the Israelis are saying, which is that the danger of having unlimited aid is that it is used by Hamas for war and terror and not for the civilians. But I really think that Egypt, the United States, and other nations must figure out a way to get much, much more aid to the innocent civilians and figure out how to at least pause some of the killing, some of the bombing, to allow more people to get aid to save lives.
Victor, that seems to be the shared goal of the majority of countries in the world. And for instance, Jordan, who is tabling this draft resolution in the hope of not to be overturned or vetoed. Fortunately, there is no such thing as a veto at the General Assembly meeting. And yet it seems to have been difficult. Exactly what's preventing a ceasefire?
First of all, I don't think a resolution calling for ceasefire to be adopted by the United Nations General Assembly is a mission impossible. It will happen, in my best judgment. Secondly, whether Israeli government will give heed to that resolution, that's highly unlikely. And I think the Israeli government need to acknowledge several things. That is, the two-state solution is the only viable solution to solve the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Now, if the Israeli government keeps bombing out Gaza to kill innocent people in the process for whatever the real purpose, it will really create eternal fate among the Palestinian people and the Arab people and many other people in the world. Because what they are doing is against international law, is collective punishment against the millions of the Palestinian people, most of whom are innocent people. They have nothing to do with the terrorist activities committed by Hamas, for example. Therefore, this is not the good. This is not in the real conscience of things. And I don't think it is in the fundamental good of the Jewish people, of the Israeli people for the long term. Therefore, I think the international community need to rise up to the occasion to call for the ceasefire and to make it absolutely known to the Israeli government that if they continue to do the wrong thing, to commit crimes against humanity, they will be held responsible eventually, because they should not use the legitimate rights of the Israeli people as an excuse to kill the innocent people in Gaza, to kill the mothers and children among the Palestinian people. This is
Dr.
not going to be tolerated, not only by the Arab people, by the Chinese people, by people in the peace-loving countries, but also by the people in the Western countries, especially in the United States.
Dr. Dunham, help us understand why Israel is so adamant seeing the rising protest around the world against what the Israeli government is doing.
Well, it believes that this is an existential moment. Not only the massacre of more Jews in a single day than any day since the end of the Holocaust and the defeat of Hitler, but the threat existential threat to the continued existence of Israel. Well, but you asked me why they're saying it. Now let's go to the second question. The answer is I do believe that the current government, at least the pre-unity government of Netanyahu, did not want to have a solution, a two-state solution. And I do believe that the Israelis have to look at a bigger picture if we're going to solve this. Otherwise, it will just lead to more deaths in Gaza, more deaths in Israel, and charges of crimes against humanity and war crimes. There is no way to eliminate Hamas without killing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of innocent people. There has to be a way out of this, but I think that the Israeli government has to reconceptualize the situation. I don't know if it is possible for that government, the way it is constituted, to do so. It may just self-destruct in that if it's forced.
Well, hopefully the Jordanian-backed resolution will get some serious consideration. I just want to wrap up with this soundbite from the Jordanian representative speaking on behalf of the Arab group. Let's listen in.
We care about all lives, about all civilians, Muslims, Christians, Palestinians, Jews, Israelis, all lives. Don't let them tell you otherwise.
I think the applauses we're hearing from the participants who are at the meeting explains a lot. We have to leave it there. Time is really running out. Many thanks to my guest, Victor Gao, Chair Professor at Soochow University, and Professor Rick Dunham, Co-Director of the Global Business Journalism Program at Tsinghua University. When we come back, Governor of the U.S. state of California, Gavin Newsom, claimed that U.S.-China cooperation is not a zero-sum game during his trip to China. Was he speaking on behalf of California, himself, or the United States federal government? Right after this short break, we'll talk about it.